Good afternoon. So, got some good news. Got some things working in our favor, and so I want to talk about them and let's celebrate together. We got some movement. We got a pushback on 243, which was supposed to be today. There was supposed to be a work session today, which I was going to tune in and watch. It started at 3 o'clock. I did. Typically what I'm doing, I'm checking on these bills every day to kind of see where they're at. And so I checked on 243 and it was moved to Monday, which is really good news for us. Okay. And if you guys can see this, hear this, please let me know. So, hey, yo, it's good. It's a good day. It's a good day. Okay. So, what this means is they're the support for this stuff is waning and it's not in their favor, and we're going to keep up this pressure. Okay, so that's what's happening. Okay, so I put in the talking points this morning for the bills on Monday. They're going to be the public hearings, so there's going to be 429, 696, 697, 698. Okay, so those are going to be the public hearing. The talking points are there so we can write testimony. We can also sign up to testify either in person or via Zoom. That's going to be really, really important. We need to pack the Capitol on Monday. Okay. They're going to have, so let's count it out. So they're going to have three bills. So there's going to be seven bills that are going to be worked on, anti-gun bills on Monday. Okay. So we're going to have House Bill 3075, which is quote unquote going to get a work session. 3076, and then there's 243. All three of those are going to get a work session. Okay. And then we're going to have 429, 696, 697, 698. Those are going to get the public hearing. Okay. So our focus should be on those public hearings. Okay. So what's really, really important there is nothing is going to really benefit us for being in the room for those work sessions. They're just going to vote, if they do vote, and they're going to pass it to the next committee or the next part of this process. Okay, so really, really important to know is we need people there on Monday to testify. Okay, and we got to kind of be strategic about our testimony. Okay, so one thing that the other side has done a really good job is setting in, and it could be the legislature's helping them. Okay, let's talk about what that means. So if you think back to all of the testimony that we submitted already in either in person or online, there has been where all of our supporters run out of time, and then the last 20 to 30 minutes of the committee meeting is all of them, and it's just they pile on us, right? And so what we have to do for these upcoming public hearings is we have to do better about what we're going to testify on, who's going to be testifying, and so we can string this out longer so they don't have 20 to 30 minutes of unanswered comments. Okay, super important there. We have to figure out how we testify online and make sure that as soon as we hear our name, we're turning off the mute button, we're getting involved. Okay, that's what they do is they go really, really fast, especially if we're in opposition, and they pass you by. And I guarantee Candy Yao, it happened to her. I guarantee it. And so they don't want us to testify, so we have to make sure that we're on top of our game. And so that's where this is the really we're getting down to the nitty gritty here. So with 4-9 is when we need this stuff to just go away, and the fact that all seven of them have been pushed back to 4-7. Okay, you see where I'm going here. It's a good thing for us. Okay, so obviously we have to keep with the pressure. Okay, and keeping up the pressure is, yes, they're doing work sessions on 4-7. There's public hearings that are going to be scheduled on 4-7. The work sessions, that's not. I mean, we shouldn't even worry about that. We should have people that can't make it in person monitor those online. But as far as having people in the room, we'd be better served being in those public hearings. Okay, so that's something to think about. So if you guys can be there on Monday, it would be really, really good use of your time, and it would send a really important message. And we need to send a message right now, and we need to keep capitalizing. Okay, every day that this stuff changes and moves back, it puts them in a position where this stuff cannot continue past 4-9. Okay. So this is in our favor. So now is the time to keep pushing. Okay. Everything is there. Everything's the talking points. You guys can make it your own. Every bill is organized. I had a helper that, Nicole, she did all the copy and paste of all the where you submit the testimony. I really appreciate her help on that. And so that's just something to think about. We're going to keep moving, and we got to keep moving and keep up that pressure. And now is the time to just double down. Okay, so double down on the work. And so that's kind of where we're at. And so just note that it's going to be better use of our time is we're testifying in those work sessions, or not those, excuse me, the public hearings. Excuse me, I misspoke. So I did speak with Alec Scarletto's office. They're going to be testifying on 696, which is the rapid fire device bill. Okay, so I really trust him. And nothing yet, Chris. We're just talking. Yeah, Nicole, thank you very much for doing that. I really appreciate it. Spread a little thin today, and I'm just trying to keep it all together. But I'm really, really thankful that we had good news today, because we definitely don't want that 243. 243 is all bills put together. They know that it's going to be a bad one for them because they know that it's going to be unpopular, and it's most likely going to die. And that's by them pushing it back to 4-7 for a work session. That is kind of a sign that it's probably not going to go any further. It's probably going to die as of 4-9. Okay. So that's the things that we should be focusing on. We're talking about, 429, 696, 697, 698. Be prepared for testimony, either in person or online. I would love to see people in person. And what we can do is maybe I'll put a post like who's going, right? So we can figure out, who's going, and then we can figure out what we're going to testify on, because we're going to want to split up. Okay. What they're going to try to do right now is they're going to try to split us up to make it look like we're not going to have the impact that we are having. And so we got to be mindful of that. I'm going to sign up for all four, just because I'm just going to be a thorn in their side, and I'll bring up a different topic every time. And the first topic right out the gate is going to be moms demand action and the way they're influencing our political arenas. And I'm going to go hard on them again. And then we'll go to the next one. If they call me again for the next one, then I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to keep just moving forward. Okay. And I'm hoping you guys are going to be there. It's going to be glorious. And what we're going to do is we're going to send a message. We cannot afford this. This is an infringement. None of this stuff should go forward. Period. Full stop. Okay. 3076, 3075, those will be in a work session. Supposedly 243 will be in a work session as well that day. I don't think it's going to happen. I think 243 is going to die that day. Or it won't go any further, because they're going to focus on those 4 individual bills. I could be wrong, but I don't think I'm going to be wrong, just because of the way McLean kind of called them out, that all of them are bad because they're all lumped together. So I think we have that in our favor. So we got to figure out who's going to testify where and when, and let's do it. Let's keep that pressure up. I feel good. I feel invigorated. I hope you guys do too. And we just got to just keep hammering them. They're not used to being in this position, right? And we haven't really even sent emails. We've been, obviously there's some of us that have, some of us have written emails and gotten responses, which is great. But the full on like call to action, the alerts, we haven't done any of that. We've just tried to get people there, to have people in person to testify. You guys have all done really, really great. And you guys should celebrate the fact that we're in this position. Okay. We're just going to keep moving forward, keep doing the thing. And it is going to be great. Yeah, Chris, we're still doing in-person testimony. We can do it in person or online. We need as many people as we can. Okay. So really, really important. So if you can testify for multiple, testify for multiple. It's not going to hurt us. It'll get you practice. Okay. All the talking points are there, so you can make it your own. So you could start off with 429 and you can start there. And 429 is the 72-hour hold for our FFLs. So if our FFLs are watching this, that would be a really really great one for you to testify on behalf, and show the fact that we already have holds, they're in place, and this bill is not going to do anything but further restrict your ability to sell guns to law-abiding citizens. I had some really great talking points in there. Check them out. The next one's going to be Senate Bill 696. That's going to be on the rapid fire devices, the AKA belt loop bump stocks. You can't ban my Levi's. That is a thing, and I don't think they got the joke. It's fine. I was kind of rushed and hurried, but it is a thing. So that's going to be probably next. The next one is going to be Senate Bill 697, which is going to be the ban on semi-automatic rifles to adults 18 to 20. Okay, so that's really, really important. If we have young adults that can testify saying that this is bad for them because of an X, Y, and Z, that would be really, really great. Okay, so and the next one is going to be 698, which is the CHL ban. So what they're trying to do is affect our preemption law, and it's make it easier for municipalities to restrict your right to carry on city property. The problem I have with that is the grounds adjacent to. That's a very damaging part of that bill, and that should be cut out. As Anna Scharf said last week when she testified, great testimony, like super great testimony that's very, very relevant. And because one thing we got to talk about logic. Okay, so that's one thing that's devoid of all of these skirmishes that we're having, is we're the only ones that are inserting logic into these conversations. Okay, and I think as I'm speaking here, I think that's going to be really important to be able to get on the record as logical. Like, we cannot afford this. The fact that the preemption now creates 900 different municipalities that can restrict our ability to carry and potentially make us all criminals. That's a very logical thing where a person could go, oh, well, I guess that would not make sense, right? So we got to score points that we know what they're going to say. They know it's going to be the same dog and pony show, same thing. That's all they got. All they have is emotion. They don't have facts. They have made up facts. So that's where we have to score with logic, okay? And so, Amy, you can testify online. We would love to have you there, okay? So we're talking about a disability, right? So a disability puts you in a position where you need a gun for self-defense. So obviously, I'm just kind of putting words out there for you. A 72-hour hold after an approval isn't necessarily in your best interest, because you might need a gun for personal protection, right? Also, we're talking about grounds adjacent to for the CHL bill. Having a disability puts you in a position where you have mobility issues. You are not going to be able to know and be able to protect yourself in certain environments, where you're going to be vulnerable. So that's where these are two examples where these two bills are really bad for people that are in your condition, right? And that's where we have to, you can shine a light on that really great. And this would be very, very powerful testimony, because you can paint a picture of how bad legislation impacts people with your condition. Okay, so really, really important stuff. Really, really, really powerful stuff. And that's something where we got to understand we can use their playbook against them. Okay, that's what's really, really important, is we can push the people that need our support to the front, and support them with our testimony, and give them the spotlight, and let them tell their stories and let them shine. That's the biggest. I love women testifying. I love diversity testifying. I love all of that, because that's where we can beat them. It's an optics game, right? And so we can use optics the same way they do. And when it's coming from you, Amy, it's probably going to be more powerful than anything that they're going to come up with. A lot of it is all going to be scripted. It's all going to be, they have a box that they check, that they self-identify as a gun violence survivor. So some of them are valid, but others are there for the grift. And so that's where we're in a good shape, and I hope you guys feel it. I hope you guys. I'm kind of animated because I'm kind of excited. I'm excited that where I was planning to have this Senate Bill 243 work session today. I was preparing for that, and to see that it all got moved to Monday, which is great because it was everything there, and I'm hoping that we can get people there, either on person or online. Really, really important. So, that's kind of where I'm at. The testimony, we can submit testimony. We're going to have 48 hours after these public hearings to be able to submit, so it's kind of your call. Whatever you want to do, you can do it right now, and we could be ahead of the game, especially since we already know, we've already testified on this stuff once. Okay, so this is going to be a slam dunk for us, and we're just going to clean up the message and hone it in on the budget, hone it in on the fact that some of it is already unconstitutional, and just hammer it, and I feel good. I feel good. I really do. One thing I will address is something that Tony shared earlier into the group is there's some misinformation going around about Measure 114. It's not going into effect. He had a post about it. So if you have any questions, just scroll down. You'll find the post. He put it into the group. He's a trusted resource. I'm going to trust him over anything that I see on online. Okay, so the post that I saw, it seemed to me like it was somebody just trying to sell guns. It was trying to somebody to panic buy, get you to panic buy, and it's not accurate. So be very, very careful on what you trust, and that's why I'm careful on the stuff that I put out, because I definitely do not want to mislead, and I definitely don't want to obviously violate your trust, but I also want to make sure the information that I put out is 100% accurate and pure, because there's lives attached to this stuff. There's livelihoods, there's freedoms, so making sure that we're all on the same page is strictly, it's really important. So that's kind of where I'm at. Um, so I'm not gonna I'm not gonna get outside of my lane. I'm gonna refer to Tony for guidance on all of that stuff when it comes to Measure 114, but just make sure that it's a valid source. Would it be either directly from him, or I would say me, or somebody that's a party to the case. Okay. So be really, really careful. There's a lot of people that, because there's a lot of emotion involved, right? And like, we hear rumors, like, I heard from this guy, they heard from this guy, they heard from that guy. Um, so just be really, really careful with the sources. Okay. There's a lot of stuff where people are putting out content just to get clicks and likes and links. And, we're not doing that here. We're just trying to give you good, real information, real time, to make sure you're a part of this process. That's the biggest thing, is just being a part of this process, and giving you guys a voice, making sure that you're empowered. Amy, we would love to see you either in person or online. Please, you know, um, absolutely, Amy. So whatever you need. So people that are watching these lives, if there's people that know the process that can help Amy with the situation, I would really appreciate it. Help take some of the pressure off of me, so I can focus on some other things. But we'll get you help, Amy. Your testimony is going to be really, really important, and that's it's all we're all in this together, right? So if there's a skill that you've learned through this process of watching the videos, or signing up for testimony or testifying, share that experience. Share that experience with your friends and your neighbors, and let them know that we're we're not out of this fight. This fight's going to continue to go on, and so that's what's really just, this is like the last part of it. We got to just make it till April 9th. Okay. And so if we can make it to April 9th, we're going to be in good shape. And yeah, so thank you, Jolly. So yeah, make sure we combat that misinformation. Okay. So if you're seeing something that doesn't make sense, bring it to our attention. If you see something online, screenshot it and send it to me or Tony, so we can verify it. And if it's not, we got to get it removed. Okay. Cause we got to be on the same page. And it's really, really important. This is not stuff that we want to take lightly, because especially because there's criminal penalties involved, right? And There's the ability for us to purchase a firearm. That everything's involved and everything's at stake. So it's really, really important we vet these sources and make sure these sources are 100% accurate. Because if not, we're going to be in trouble. So, that's kind of where I'm at. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys have any questions, how are we feeling about things? Do you feel like we're making headway? Do you feel like the stuff that you're doing behind the scenes is it do you feel like it's making a difference? I'd be curious to hear your thoughts because um, yeah, I feel good. The responses that I'm hearing from the people up there in Salem, they're feeling, I mean, obviously they're overwhelmed because there's just so much going on up there in the capital. But I really feel that, things are, even though it's a numbers game, right? But if we can overwhelm them with, logic and data and budget stuff, there's no way this stuff survives. There's no way. And even if they have the numbers, like we can't afford it flat out. And so that's where we have to keep up this pressure. Be calm, cool, collected. Obviously it's easy to get emotional on this stuff because obviously it's all important to us, but let them be the ones that are freaking out, because I guarantee they are, because they're not expecting us to show up and submit testimony. They're expecting to just steamroll us because we don't care, and we really do care. And so for the people that are going to be there, my hat's off to you guys. I'm thankful for you guys to be in this with me, and let's get it done. And so that's kind of where I'm at. So, oh yeah, 100%. I believe that, Michael. I believe that if and one thing we have to look about is they're going to continue, right? This is we call it a grift. It's all it is. It's a money grab. It's a way to fundraise. It's a way to keep their politicians in power. And so if we can break that chain, that's how we can implement this other parts of Oregon politics. Okay, obviously this group is focused on 2A, but if we can develop the techniques and the game plan here, because we're all working towards the same goal, then we can implement it in other parts of the state and other avenues. Okay, that's the goal. Like we know it's going to work, and we're starting to see chinks in the armor, and that's really good for us. And so um so some gun stores are using this to sell, telling people buy it now because probably closing in a couple weeks. Come on. I don't. There's other ways to make sales, believe it or not. Okay, and we've talked about it a little bit, right? So a way to make sales would be to focus on accessories, better margins typically for accessories. Also, we can be selling these guns online. We could be selling them on gun broker, arms list, stuff like that, shipping them out of the state. So as an FFL, this should be your time to pivot, and you should be exploring other avenues to make revenue, right? But the panic buying and guilting people into making sales is not the way, because I don't think you're being honest here. But I know it's a scary thing. I totally get it. I just think that there's ways to do it. So just do it right. That's all I'm saying. So I think that we just got to make sure that we're moving forward, and that people are doing the work that we need to do. So if we can dedicate, and it doesn't take much. I mean, all of this I try to make it as easy as I can this morning for you. Putting those talking points together, you know where they're going to go, and this is how we can counter it, and you can add your own little flavor to it. But the whole goal was to make it so it's so easy for you to do it that it's almost impossible to not do it. Okay, and so that's where I would love to see everybody that can do it. And if you're new to testifying, there'll be people there to help support you. um, you know and I'm looking forward to seeing the people that have been there every time. And I already have people that are coming back. And so I'm really feeling positive. And I'm not even going to focus on those work sessions. We're going to focus on the public hearings only. We're going to be there. We're going to be in the room, and we're going to submit testimony, and hopefully we'll outnumber them again, right? Like we did last time, and hopefully we'll score some points. And so, that's the point. Is we got to show up. Can't stress that enough. So, you know, we're all in this together. We're either going to win together or we're going to lose together. So, and I'm not moving. So I'm not moving. I know there's a lot of people that are like, I'm out of here, and they're lucky. I'm staying. So we just got to figure this out. So yeah. So any other questions before I get off this? So just realize. So we're gonna have a recap. The recap is House Bill 3075, 3076, Senate Bill 243. Those are all scheduled for work sessions on Monday. Okay. It's funny that at the same time as the public hearings. Okay. So that's what tells me they're going to either do some smoke and mirrors type stuff with those other three bills, or those bills, there's going to be some funny business. Okay. Because one's going to be on the House side, or actually, two will be on the House side, one will be on the Senate side, and then we also have those four public hearings. So that's 429, 696, 697, 698. All the talking points are there. And yeah, thank you, Teresa. Teresa, we love to see people there, and you can do it online too. It's really, really easy. I mean, a lot of people are just testifying from their phones, and this so it's 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock, okay, John. So if I'm gonna get there before noon, and I'm gonna see some friends up there. I'm gonna be in line by 1. I'm gonna make sure I have a spot. First one in, right? First one in, last one out, and save a space for you guys. And then what we'll do is we'll all gather there. We'll just get there in line, and they can wait in the back like they belong. And then we'll just go from there. And then we'll just testify. The one thing I'm concerned about this, and I don't know how this is going to play out, is typically for a public hearing, they give 90 minutes for testimony. Okay. So if there's 4 of them on the same day, starting at 3, so that would be 6 hours altogether. Okay. So that's something that concerns me is, um, what they're going to do if they're going to modify the hearing. I mean, technically we already all testified on this stuff once with 243. You remember in 243 it was 3 hours. That was an eternity. And that was not fun. I couldn't imagine doing twice that. So I would imagine they're going to try to modify that some, which it could be good for us or not. So just something to think about there. So if you're going to be there, if you plan on being there, it could be a late night. Or if you're going to testify at home, just be aware it could be, I don't know what's going to happen. I just want you guys to be prepared. So, just be prepared. They're going to do whatever they can to shut you down, to make sure that your voice isn't heard. And we're going to say no. Our voice is more valuable than the ones from the other side, because our voice is not vetted by somebody in California. Okay. Our voice is coming from us and our hearts, and the impact to our lives and our livelihoods, and the safety of our families. So that's where ours is going to come from. It's not going to come from some paid stooge in California. So that's where I'm at. So, okay. No, thank you, Teresa. I appreciate your support. I'm just trying to just get through these next couple days, man. It's been a lot. But I'm glad to have people like you in my corner. Like, I couldn't do this without you guys. So we're in it together. So we're gonna win. We're gonna win together, and we're gonna stop this stuff, and then we'll just prepare for the next. So just something to think about. So, yeah, please do. Please do. And Teresa, if you're not going to be there, if you could do us a solid, so we will need people that will watch those work sessions. Okay, so the work sessions are going to be 3075, 3076, and possibly 243. So if we could get eyes somebody get eyes on those so we can see what's happening there. And then the rest of us will focus on the public hearing and testifying because that's going to be really kind of the most pressing thing. The work sessions are just going to be a formality. So there is, yeah, Amy, whatever you need. Absolutely. Whatever you need, Amy. Um, Listen here, sucker. Um, if you got one that'll fit me, that was a couple years ago. I think that was back in 2016. This onesie that you're talking about, and so I've grown a little bit. I've grown up a little bit since then. So you're gonna pay for that one. If it helps, yes, I will wear the onesie. Okay, I'll find a onesie and I wear a Ducks onesie if it will help. Okay, so but we have to win first. Okay, Michael. So that's the bet. We got to win. If we don't win, then there's no onesie. Okay, so thanks for that. You're gonna get a, a prank call for that one. So I will put the links there, Teresa. I'll try to put. I'm gonna try to make it so it's pretty set. Like it's cruise control. We're gonna go through the no ducks. Yes, we're gonna go beefs, and so it's an inside joke. I'm sorry. Thanks, Mike. That's what we're gonna do. So the work sessions, Mac, Jeff, that's a really great question. So the work session is going to be when they actually vote on this stuff, and so it's what it does is it's the fate of that bill and whether it goes on to the next committee. What they're going to say is they're going to all vote on it with a due passage vote, okay, a due pass recommendation basically, and then if they had enough votes, then it would go on to the next committee. That's how the work session works. Okay. When it comes to the public hearing, those are the ones that are really important to us because this is where we can add our input, right? And the work session, they've already made up their minds. They've already got all the testimony. Everything's been submitted, and so there's no way to really change that. Okay. And so one thing to think about, okay, this is like a worst case scenario. So after April 9th, the ones that are still alive, that are still in the process, we don't know what those are. And they're going to go to another committee and it's going to be further. That's where we're going to have to ratchet up the support, the pressure. Okay. Because, our movements are going to be really limited at that point. Okay. So if it makes it past April 9th, let's say 3076 because it's already been scheduled for Ways and Means because there's a fiscal impact. um we're going to have to key in on that fiscal, like it's Ways and Means committee. So that's when we're going to be hammering them. That's when we're going to start hammering them. Obviously respectfully, but we're going to be firm and say, hey, we can't afford this. Your one job in the Oregon legislature is to analyze the budget, and you have to look at this. Is this going to impact the budget? Can we afford it? If not, it cannot go any further. Okay, so that's where we've kind of got some moves that we're making right now just to kind of keep up the pressure. April 9th, depending on what survives, is what tactic we're going to use after that. Okay. So just, we're hoping this stuff all goes away. That's the goal. But, we just keep your head up, stay rallied, stay motivated. All the talking points are there. You guys can submit that testimony, and you can do it online. You can also register to testify there. You can either do it in person, which we would love to see you in person. I'd love to have so many people there that they have to sit in the overflow, which they did what the first hearing, which was pretty awesome. And I heard there was some pretty good fireworks in the audience there because it's not censored, and the crowd just gets into it. I'd rather be in the room because I can see the politicians, but I guess it got kind of wild and rowdy in the overflow room. So let's put them in the overflow room. Okay, let's nullify them. Let's take their voice out of it, and that'll be a win for us. So that's it's like it's 40 chess. It really is, and I've learned a lot from this process. I've honed my skills and perfected. I've come a long way, and I'm really proud of myself and what I've been able to kind of learn from this to be better, so I can help you guys. Like, that's the greatest thing. Um, so we're just going to keep up that pressure. I got friends in Colorado; they're fighting right now. They got a really bad one there. It seems like it's happening in Massachusetts. I got friends there that are going through the same thing. So just Washington's dealing with some really bad stuff right now. So it's all, they know their days are numbered. They know with a good AG and Pam Bondi, hopefully, knock on wood, and some good policy coming out of the Trump administration, their days are numbered. Their funding is numbered. Okay. And that's gonna be the biggest thing for all of us. If we can get some sort of correction and shut down some of these groups, it's gonna be a good day for us as Oregonians. So that's about all I got. I appreciate you guys tuning in. It's a little bit longer than I anticipated, but I was pretty fired up. I was glad to have a day off where I didn't have to worry about this stuff, and we're ahead of the game. We got everything ready to go, for Monday, and it's going to be great. So I think that it's super important that we just make sure that we keep up the pressure. So, all right, that's all I got. Thank you guys for tuning in. You guys have a great night, and I will talk to you soon. Amy, if you have any questions, please let me know. I'd love to help you. Let's get you in the game. So, thank you guys. See ya.